Nimble Growth Hacking web video series where we interview experts on the latest sales and marketing tips and tricks. Joining me today is Wes Schaeffer. Wes, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Man, what would you like to know? Ultimately, I just want to be like John. So that's all people need to know. Okay, I was raised in the South, went to the Air Force Academy, spent 5 years active duty. Jumped right into sales in 1997, started the Sales Whisperer in 2006, and now here we are today.
Okay, can you share a little bit about how you became the Sales Whisperer and what that means and the value you provide to your audience? Because it's quite a lot.
Well, you know, the funny thing is it was actually September 1st, 2006, and I was watching the National Geographic Channel when the Dog Whisperer still existed. Cesar Millan, he has his own show now, but he had the Dog Whisperer. And I was watching the show, had my laptop on my lap, and he said that he rehabilitates dogs and he trains their owners. And I was thinking, man, I do that with salespeople. I rehabilitate salespeople that have been misled by unprepared, untrained sales managers, and I train their sales managers on how to lead their people. Right? Because if you ever watch the Dog Whisperer, the dogs act the way the owners allow them to act. They literally feed off of their energy. And so salespeople do the same thing. They feed off of the managers. And after nearly a decade in sales at that point, I was always learning, trying to get better. I had good bosses. I had horrible bosses. But I was always trying to get better. And I'd actually hired a sales coach at the end of 2005 into early 2006. I liked what he did. I liked how my production went up when I had structure and accountability and, you know, a sympathetic ear, if you will, somebody that wasn't there just to pound me into the ground. But that was the beginning. I was just kind of tired. I was in high tech. I was laid off a bunch of times. Even being over quota, it just didn't matter. The dot-com implosion, working with other startups that just weren't well funded. So I was like, if I'm going to have an uncertain future, I'd rather be uncertain on my own than dependent on somebody where I have no control. So the Sales Whisperer was launched.
Let's talk about some of the hacks that you think, whether it's a sales hack or sales strategy, that you think really are moving the needle today.
Well, I'll answer this in a couple of ways. And one is cold calling is still alive and well. Direct mail is still alive and well, even in this digital age, right? Even moving into 2018.
What is it that you're kind of doing, and then kind of give us some of the outcomes, whether they were social or sales or some kind of a business outcome?
Yeah, well, the thing, talking specifically about Nimble, what I like, so it sits on my browser. We were talking about technology before we turned on record, and Nimble works flawlessly. I got Chrome over here. I got Safari over here. Anywhere that I hover, as you were rebooting, right, I get an email, and this guy wants to be on my podcast. I click the Nimble link, I hover over the guy, bam, it shows me everything. I find him on LinkedIn, I find him on Facebook, I find him on Twitter. And so check this out. So the guy's overseas in Europe. His website it's in Lithuanian. He's got one, I think, in another 3 languages, not English. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to have this guy on my show. I mean, good grief, he's in Europe, I don't see any English. But so Nimble let me find him immediately. I find his Facebook page, and the guy does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I've been doing Jiu-Jitsu about 8 months now. I mean, I'm 8 up with it. I'm like a CrossFitter that's also a vegan, right? That's how much I'm into Jiu-Jitsu. So this guy rolls Jiu-Jitsu. So I'm like, I sent him an email. I was about to hit delete, but because I found him, so this is kind of like a success story in reverse, right? Because I found out info about that guy and we have a common bond, I'm like, I'll give you a shot. Let's talk. Let's talk about having you on the show. But being able to immediately, and I saw all of his profiles. Is this him on LinkedIn? Yes. Twitter? Yes. Boom, boom, boom. So he had the same image on all those profiles. So I immediately added him to Nimble, right? And I could tag him as jiu-jitsu practitioner, sales training, podcast guest. So I have all those subcategories created just in a browser in about 35 seconds. Okay, and so I do that 2 or 3 times an hour at least, when I have emails sitting over here. But every single email that I get from anybody, I'm hovering over it, seeing who they are, seeing if I want to connect with them, how to build a relationship, how to connect with them, is there something unique? Because in reverse, I could do the same thing. If I see that we grew up in the same part of the country, or we were both in the military, or we both have big families, we both like bourbon, right? Find something in common that will break the ice every single time, regardless of how high up that prospect is, in their company. So having something like Nimble to help me quickly find out something about somebody, that has always worked. That will always continue to work, because fundamentally, human beings, we're the same regardless of what new technology comes out.
Yeah, and from my point of view, in 35 seconds, I mean, what would that normally take you to gather all that information? You probably wouldn't, because it's so much trouble.
Probably wouldn't. Yeah, well, I would have to copy his email, maybe chop off the beginning, copy the URL, open a new tab, paste it in, see what his website. Hope he's got all the social media links. I'm going to click on Facebook. I'm going to click on Twitter. I'm going to click on LinkedIn. I'm going to click on Instagram. Scan. And it doubles the time, triples the time. And like we know in sales, time kills deals. Okay, so the more I can compress cycles and time frames, I'm going to be more productive. I'm going to make more money.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at just the move from analog to a digital world, that was fast, because you can email people, you can look them up on the internet if they had the internet. This is the next level. I mean, this is the next step where you can transact and you can research even faster, 5x faster, by having all that information about a prospect at your fingertips. It just makes you as a salesperson more effective and more efficient. Okay. Well, Wes, with that, where can people find you?
Again, I am everywhere online. So my website is thesaleswhisperer.com. And if you scroll down the bottom, you'll find all my social media links. My phone number's there. Contact us comes right to me. And I'm as accessible as anybody that I know out there.
Okay, fantastic. If you have any questions, please write them in the comments, no matter where you're seeing this, on YouTube, Facebook, or wherever. It could even be Instagram. Write us any comments. I know Wes or the Nimble team or myself will respond to them. Wes, just want to thank you again. Glad you survived the Harvey hurricane, and love all the work that you did on a volunteer basis.
Hey, man, thank you. It was my pleasure.